Hello again, everyone. Welcome back. This is my visual arts channel, Stractify 500, where I explore concepts and techniques in drawing and composition at a foundational level. And in exploring these things, as we explore these things together, the plan is to expand into a variety of other projects where we can apply these concepts and techniques and see how they play out, see how they work out in creating, drawings and compositions and artwork and things like that. Okay, we are still in our perspective drawing series, and starting with this video, we're going to begin 1-point perspective. Okay, we just wrapped up 2-point perspective, and now we are going to get into 1-point perspective. So, and again, all you will need is, well, you need some paper. Of course, you'll need some paper. I'm going to start off with two separate sheets, a couple of sheets of scrap paper. So if you're following along with whatever you're going to draw with, we're going to have 2 sheets of scrap paper that we're going to do some freehand drawings with, just to get the general concept of how we're going to approach 1-point perspective. Okay, and then as usual, you're going to have your 12-inch ruler, your 6-inch ruler, your 12-inch ruler for drawing long lines, your 6-inch ruler for drawing short lines. I have a little triangle here, and just in case, I have my bigger triangle, 30-60 degree triangle. I have a bigger one here just in case. This is in case I might need it. All you'll need is a pen or a mechanical pencil or both, and your eraser that cleans up nicely and doesn't leave any smudges. And that's basically all you will need. Okay. So with 1-point perspective, again, I'm going to start off, let me position this paper correctly, such a way that it's clear, or everything shows up on the camera. All right, so all I want you to do is just go ahead real quickly, and I'm really going to try and conceptualize this in a very simple way before I start getting into any drawing. Any technical drawing, that is. All right, so go ahead and just draw out your horizon line, or your HL, like so. And this is just an example. This is just to help conceptualize how we're going to approach things. So what I'm going to do, and what you're going to do is, in a freehand fashion, draw a rectangle like that, and draw it in such a way that the horizon line is almost at the bottom of this rectangle. Okay? The next rectangle you draw, I want the horizon line positioned more or less in the center of that rectangle, like so. Third rectangle, I want positioned in such a way that the horizon line is positioned close to the top of that rectangle, like so, just like that. Okay, so that's the first approach. That's the first set of examples that I want you to keep in mind, and I'm going to explain what this means in a minute. Go ahead and draw another horizon line, just freehand. Doesn't have to be straight, doesn't have to be perfect. And we're going to draw another set of rectangles, but this time just go ahead and position these rectangles, position the horizon line more or less, well, it could be anywhere, but just for the purpose of this example, we're going to put the horizon line just through the center of those those rectangles, just like that. Okay? All right, so what I'm going to illustrate here is the positioning of the vanishing point in this set right here. And then in this set, I'm going to explain what this is all about. But right before I do that, let me just explain that these rectangles or squares represent the back wall of a room. So what we're going for is something like that. Okay? So this is the back wall, this is the left wall here, and this is the right wall here. Okay? So that's what we're going for. And it's not necessarily that we are building a room, it's just the setup to help build it's just the construction setup to help build whatever composition you're going for in one-point perspective. So with that being said, these rectangles represent your back wall, and so your horizon line in this particular rectangle is closer to the floor. Your horizon line in this example sort of runs closer to the middle of that back wall, runs through the middle of that back wall. And then in this last one, the horizon line is closer to the ceiling. Okay, so this is the floor, side walls, ceiling. Okay, and this is where your horizon line is positioned. So you'll see what that means, or the implications of that in the next few minutes or so. Now, over here, we're going to focus on where the single vanishing point is. So we're in one-point perspective, which means we are dealing with 1 point, one vanishing point, okay, one VP. And for the most part, most beginners like to start with the vanishing point smack in the middle of this rectangle or square or whatever shape you've got here, right? You can also have your vanishing point, your single vanishing point, further to the left or further to the right. So not to get ahead of myself, but for the most part, I start by teaching this configuration where your vanishing point is right in the middle, but I always strongly encourage my students to build their compositions with the vanishing point either extreme or slightly off center, okay? Because putting it in the center is kind of predictable, kind of very static, and putting it a little off center makes for a more dynamic composition. So we're going to move from this, and I'm going to start with these two and then get into these two on a freehand level. Okay, so I'm going to start. I'm going to do these drawings kind of small. So let me bring this over. So I'm going to start here. I'm going to draw kind of small. There's my rectangle with the HL, the horizon line running through the middle, like that. And I'm going to place my VP right in the middle here, right in the center of all the action. And what you do is you've got this square. From that vanishing point, you project radiating lines through each corner, all the way out like that. Now, and immediately what you see happening is that you get the rest of the room. This is the ceiling, all this is the ceiling, the left wall, the right wall right here, the floor. But the great thing about this is that you can, just like in two-point perspective when I did the example of the two-point perspective grid, This back wall, you can treat these things like tracks. You can push this back wall as far back as you want. Let's say I don't want this back wall here. I need it further back for whatever reason. All you have to do is come back here, pick a point, perpendicular line parallel to this, perpendicular to the horizon line. And once you get that, you just project horizontal lines parallel to the horizon line, and then where it intersects, in this case, since I'm doing freehand, it's not going to be exactly perfect. You can push this wall far back in case you need more of that space. You can change your mind and push this as far back as you need to. Okay, so that's what you'll get. But we're going to continue to work with that right there. And let's say I want to start drawing some boxes somewhere within this space. So what you do is, from this single vanishing point, you can project, again, 2 radiating lines out here, like that. And then you can decide where your box can start. And what you do is, everything that's horizontal has to be parallel to the horizon line. Everything that's vertical needs to be perpendicular to the horizon line, and then parallel to whatever other verticals are there. Okay? If you have, a perfect box like that. And so what you do is just project some lines up, perpendicular lines, 90 degrees upwards. Determine the size of your box. Let's say it's right here, so I'll project a horizontal line to that next line. And you can label as well, so you can go A, B, C, and D. And then from that point, just project perpendicular lines up. So that'll be line B, this will be line A, this will be line C, this will be line D. All right, pick a height for that box. I'll pick it from back here. That'll be the height of the box. Project a horizontal line, again, parallel to the horizon line, and then from the vanishing point, project a line through that point on line A, that height on line A, to line B, like that. Mark it. From there, project a horizontal line parallel to the horizon line. That'll give you your point on line C. From that point on line C, project through, or project from the vanishing point, the single vanishing point, straight through that point, and that will give you point D, which should match up accurately with point A. And there's your completed box. I will darken the lines. And that's basically what you get, okay? And you can go ahead and build other boxes. Let's build one on this side real quick, and I'll just do that fairly rapidly. I'll just sort of not blast through it, but just do it very quickly. There we go. I was afraid this was going to run into this, but thank goodness it didn't. Determine that height. Got that point. Project these from this point up. Make sure it's nice and parallel. Again, I'm doing a freehand. I'm not using my rulers, so it's might look a little messy, but hopefully gets the point across. I'm not super accurate, trying to be mostly accurate. There's our next box. Okay, so you can play around with that. And we have our room. Or we're inside some sort of box, some sort of room, a storage unit. Can be anything you want it to be. Okay, but that's the basic concept. Okay, so I'm going to expand. I'm going to extend my horizon line over here, and let's see. I'm going to make my box a little smaller. But let's see very quickly what happens when I take my vanishing point from the middle, either off center or even closer to this wall, to the right wall. I mean, we're not right wall, the left wall. Okay, so here's our center. It's our right wall. So somewhere in between that, maybe about right there, that will be the VP. So what happens is you get sort of like a different point of view. Let me mark the end of this so that things don't get confused. I'm going to mark it here. So just bring a vertical line straight down, 90 degrees, all the way down. And with that, I should be able to extend this in a horizontal fashion. Horizontal direction over here, which means I have to expand this. Brings me here. This comes here, like that. Okay, and again, because I'm doing it freehand, it's not exactly accurate, so I'm getting this as an angle, which should actually be. So let's force that a little bit. It's probably because this is a little off. Force that here. Get a more horizontal line. So that's our box. And so everything you draw in this box will, how do I say it? So let's draw this box. Will be affected by, everything you draw inside this box will be affected by your placement of this vanishing point within this rectangle. Okay, because the position of this vanishing point is working off of, whatever side where you've placed it on the horizon line. So we're further up against this wall, so this box should look a bit different. So let's say I place it right there and right there. Okay, something like that. Something like that. And as a result, these lines are running a little too close together in a way that I don't like, but those are the breaks, I guess. I will make my height right here to distinguish it from the line of this back wall, the bottom line of that back wall. And then from there, I can project from the single vanishing point through this intersection here, and that'll give me this point. I can take it across in a horizontal fashion. I'm sort of rushing through this, guys. Hopefully it's not confusing. So I take, again, let me back up a little bit. I feel myself rushing through this. So once I've got this point, I can extend a horizontal line to intersect with this vertical line, which will give me this point. If I take it back to the vanishing point, or from the vanishing point draw a line straight to this point, it'll give me this point right here to help me complete the top of my box and help me complete my whole box. So because this point falls on this side of this vanishing point, I'm not going to see this side of the box the way I see it here. Okay? So the placement of this box is similar to the placement of this box, but because the vanishing point has shifted, I'm getting this sort of configuration, this sort of setup. Okay? And then, as you can imagine, let's go ahead and set things up. Move this cup in the way. Excuse me. All right, so hopefully you can see, make sure the paper's placed in such a way that you guys can see what I'm drawing. All right, so I'm gonna draw an even smaller rectangle like that, freehand, with my vanishing point going through the center, but this time my vanishing, this would be the center, so I'm going to go off center towards the right, and let's see what that looks like. So from that single VP, just project a line through there, project a line through that corner like that, like so, and then project a line through that corner, project a line through that corner. Okay. And then again, I'm going to place my box. I'm going to place my box a little further over here. So we're doing pretty much the same box. So this, okay, this is sort of at an angle. Again, this needs to be parallel to the horizontal line. And I'll place that here. Parallel, parallel, parallel. This will be my point. So that'll be the width of my box. I'm going to project a line straight through. I'm sort of going slower now because I don't want to just rush through it. Okay, so those are the 4 points. From those 4 points, project a perpendicular line like so. Like so, and I'm going to pick, this time I'm going to pick the height from, usually I pick it from back here, I'm going to pick it from the front here. So that'll be the height, which gives me these 2 points, and then from these 2 points I can project back to the vanishing point, or I can project from the vanishing point to that point. So this gives me the height here, so I'm going to mark that. And when I follow this back, it intersects here, so I'm going to mark that point, and then connect everything. Connect from here to there, and these are already connected, so we've got the top of our box. And I'll just darken the rest of the box so that you guys can see it more clearly. And then that's what we get. So basically, just from shifting that single point on the horizon line, you can see how the configuration of that box changes. And I focused mainly on this box just for the sake of time. You guys can go ahead in a freehand sort of fashion and see what you get when you set up your rectangle, your back wall, and you start with your vanishing point right in the middle, or you place your vanishing point more towards the left, towards the left side of that box, or the right side of that box. And try for yourself and see how the configuration, the point of view of the viewer, how it changes the look of these boxes, which are pretty much placed in a similar location in the room or in the bigger box. Okay, and then try it out with this box as well and see how that changes. All right, so that is your very basic introduction to one-point perspective. I hope that made a lot of sense. So I'm going to stop right there, and in the next video we are going to do this exact same thing, but we're going to see how things look with the rectangle placed at these different heights, or placed at these different locations in reference to the horizon line. These different heights of the horizon line in comparison to the square or the rectangle. All right, so I will see you in part 1A of One Point Perspective. This is Stractify 500. I will see you in the next video.